There is a major problem in Southeast Asia. The region has the most potential of anywhere in the world, but also lacks the transportation networks, energy grids, and digital infrastructure to develop into a modern global trading hub. The Asian Development Bank estimates the region needs over $3.1 trillion of investment from 2015 to 2030 to meet its infrastructure needs. There are only two countries in the world that could offer that type of support. And ultimately, nations will have to decide which superpower will become their closest ally, the United States or China. In today's video, I'm going to reveal why, despite pressure from the United States, China remains the top partner for nearly every country in the region, and why China will heavily influence the future of Southeast Asia. Let's start with the creation of the Belt and Road Initiative in 2013. The BRI has been a fantastic opportunity for Chinese investment, as well for ASEAN countries to develop their own economies and solve their direct needs of improved transportation, energy solutions, and shifting to a digital lifestyle, all things China has successfully accomplished in the past 2 decades. Since 2009, China has been ASEAN's most important trading partner. Over the past 2 years, the ASEAN network has remained China's top trading partner, and as of October 2022, two-way commerce had already reached 5.26 trillion yuan, or 15.2% of China's total exports and imports. Consider the country of Malaysia. In just 3 years after the BRI's inception, Chinese investment in the country grew a whopping 1,000% and has been the largest recipient among all Southeast Asian countries for the past 10 years. Not only that, but Malaysia's BRI projects are the widest in scope, largest in scale, and some of the fastest in implementation in all of Southeast Asia. For example, the East Coast Rail Link, ECRL, is a massive $27 billion railway mega project that was awarded to China Communication Construction Company and is still currently under construction. It will connect the country's east and west coast and be an epic 700 kilometers long. Of the 23,000 workers working on this project, 70% of them are locals, which has significantly helped stimulate the nation's economy. Once finished, it will substantially increase domestic connectivity and facilitate trade and other economic exchanges. To date, it is Malaysia's largest infrastructure project, but this project is not without its controversy and was linked to one of the largest financial scandals in world history. Is China to blame for this, or is there more to the story that most people haven't heard of yet? Stay tuned to the end of today's video and I'll reveal to you the shocking truth. But first, let me highlight one of the most successful China-backed projects, and that is the Malaysia-China Kuantan Industrial Park. This sprawling 3,500-acre industrial park opened in 2013 on the country's east coast and was built in response to the China-Malaysia Qinzhou Industrial Park, located in Guangxi, China. These are the first sister industrial parks in different countries, which has helped pioneer a new model of international cooperation. Since opening, it has attracted major foreign investment and spurred international trade. More than 200 projects have been signed, with total investment exceeding $25 billion and tens of thousands of local jobs created. This kind of heavy engagement with China can be seen all across Southeast Asia. In Indonesia, Southeast Asia's most populous country and the de facto leader of ASEAN, China is building the Jakarta-Bandung high-speed rail. This 142-kilometer long, $8 billion project will connect the country's largest 2 cities on its most populous island of Java and reduce travel time from 3.5 hours down to 36 minutes. This is the flagship BRI project in the country and employs 2,000 locals and is expected to open this year. Interestingly, this will also be Southeast Asia's first high-speed rail line, meaning it will be able to handle speeds above 250 kilometers per hour. Indonesia also hosts nearly half of the 8 overseas industrial parks that China has established across Asian member states. One such park, the Indonesia Morowali Industrial Park, employs a massive 43,000 workers, and close to 90% of them are local hires. Indonesia epitomizes a nation whose needs perfectly align with what the BRI offers. As a country troubled by underdeveloped infrastructure, low human capital, and an unfavorable regulatory framework, Indonesia has long suffered from a lack of competitiveness and prevented the nation from becoming a global trade hub, let alone a regional one. In fact, Indonesia's share in world trade is even smaller than that of smaller neighboring countries, such as Malaysia, Thailand, and even Singapore. This is despite the nation's strategic location in the Indo-Pacific and it being the biggest economy by far in Southeast Asia, as well as the world's 4th most populous country. As a result, the country has desperately sought to upgrade its infrastructure, improve connectivity between its many islands, and modernize its economy. However, as is common among developing nations, it can't afford the enormous price tag of such a vast endeavor, and this is where China's capital has come to the rescue. Fast forward to today, and China has become the nation's largest trading partner for the past 10 years, as well as its largest foreign investor since 2019. Indonesia's president Joko Widodo even went as far to say this of the BRI: "It is not merely talk, but it is about actually building something. From airports to railways, these are industries we can see and touch. This is exactly the sort of courage and real action the world needs right now." This perfect synergy between a country's needs and aims and what the BRI offers can be seen all across Southeast Asia. And as I've shown time and time again in previous videos, the truth is that countries all across the world who have joined the BRI have been very clear on what they're getting into. China's BRI projects are recipient-driven, meaning it's the receiving country who approaches China to fund these projects, not the other way around. Everywhere, China is building high-speed railways, industrial parks, business districts, and other large projects which improve the recipient country's trade connectivity and create thousands of local jobs. But Western media will do anything they can to discredit China's accomplishments in the region. Let me show you the latest propaganda piece from Reuters that will absolutely shock you. Reuters sent out this tweet on May 18th that garnered nearly 2 million views. And just look at how desperate they have become to speak negatively about China. China, the birthplace of the COVID pandemic, is laying tracks for another global health crisis. I find it hard to believe that Reuters would publish such garbage on their platform, especially when another Reuters article immediately disproves this claim. Coronavirus trace found in March 2019 sewage sample, Spanish study shows. And we wonder why people have lost trust in traditional Western media. Laos has the unfortunate reputation of being the most bombed nation in history, with the United States dropping over 2 million bombs on Laos from 1964 to 1973. Laos is Southeast Asia's only landlocked country, giving it a major competitive disadvantage in trade, and this new China-built railway link will extend throughout the entire country and finally give Laos a chance it needs to expand its regional trade with its Southeast Asian neighbors. In short, the China-Laos Railway is an absolute game changer for Laos, and this is the story that Reuters should be reporting. Of course, successful partnerships and win-win deals with China doesn't sell to Reuters' core audience. But this is what inspires me to spend hours researching these topics and making informative YouTube videos like this so the entire world can learn the truth. Let's visit another smaller nation in Southeast Asia that is receiving significant help from China, and that is Myanmar. The Chaokpyu port is the flagship project under the China-Myanmar Economic Corridor, CMEC, which is itself one of the most important undertakings of the Belt and Road Initiative. China is funding 70% of the total investment of the $1.3 billion for the project, and Myanmar is contributing the remaining 30%. Once completed, the port will serve as a major entry port for China into the Indian Ocean and a connection point for Myanmar to tap into China's booming economy. Increased commerce and investment, better infrastructural connectivity, and new job opportunities are just some of the ways in which its development is predicted to benefit local and regional economies. Upon completion, the project is expected to generate $3.2 billion in gross output, employ up to 100,000 locals, and bring in $15 billion in tax revenue for Myanmar. The common theme amongst all these projects is increasing trade and connectivity between Southeast Asian countries, and the best project to achieve this goal is the Pan-Asian Railway Network. The network consists of 3 routes. Route 1 travels west through Myanmar and Thailand. Route 2 travels east through Vietnam, Cambodia, and Thailand. Route 3 travels centrally from Kunming in southern China to Bangkok in Thailand by way of Laos. The economic growth that the Pan-Asian Railway Network is expected to bring will be substantial, with improved connectivity between nations and their capitals, providing better access to foreign markets and goods. This increased integration of markets is beneficial for all countries involved, as it creates opportunities for people to travel, trade goods and services, increase tourism, and generally improve their standard of living. China is playing a large role in the development of these railways, and like the map says, all railroads lead to China. But as amazing as these projects sound, and as healthy as China's relations with its neighbors may be, it's not all sunshine and roses, and I wouldn't be fair and balanced if I didn't address this. Critics will be quick to point out that in many Southeast Asian nations, there is concern towards China's growing economic presence, but the reason for this dissatisfaction will completely shock you. And as promised at the beginning of this video, I'm going to reveal it to you right now. The truth is that in such cases, the resentment was ironically often caused not by China's actions, but those of the recipient countries. Sound absurd? Let me give you an example. Earlier I mentioned the China Finance Project in Malaysia, the nation's largest infrastructure project to date. It has faced plenty of public criticism, eventually culminating in the Malaysian government suspending it and renegotiating its terms. But the cause for this is not what you might expect. As it turns out, this project unwittingly became embroiled in the infamous 1MDB corruption scandal, in which the country's sovereign wealth fund was systematically embezzled by top-level officials in the Malaysian government, including the then Prime Minister Najib Razak. Described as one of the world's greatest financial scandals, and even the largest kleptocracy case to date by the US Department of Justice, this scandal had global implications with individuals and companies around the world involved. In short, Prime Minister Razak and other top-level officials inflated the cost of the railway and other projects and attempted to use those funds to pay off the wealth fund's massive debt. Simply put, this BRI project inadvertently became entangled in a local crime, and China was used as a convenient scapegoat when the Malaysian government's actions were discovered. And here is where things get very interesting. The next Prime Minister, Mahathir Mohamad, used this scandal as well as a classic debt trap narrative to topple Razak in 2018. Interesting, however, while Mohamad initially canceled the ECRL as well as other key BRI projects, he quickly reverted course and revived these projects after renegotiating better deals. Referring to the controversy surrounding these BRI projects, Mohamad stated, "This is our own people's stupidity. We can't blame the Chinese for that." He went on to share the following highly revealing insight about the Belt and Road Initiative. At the beginning, we thought that the BRI was for China to dominate in ASEAN and Asia because the BRI is the passageway for trade through the Straits of Malacca and the South China Sea, and we had believed China wanted to gain control. Now we realize this initiative is not being dominated by China. The suggestions are not only from China, but also views from other countries. This will be a creation by all involved nations. I have more understanding, and this makes it easier for us to support it. This is an extraordinary insight and one that you will never hear in Western media. Altogether, the Malaysian Railway project clearly shows how Malaysia has persistently embraced the BRI, even during the middle of a massive corruption scandal from Malaysia's own government officials. This also perfectly illustrates how Malaysia and countless other nations across the globe deeply understand just how indispensable China is to the development and modernization of their own economies. Everyone, thanks for making it to this point of the video. I hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into China's Belt and Road projects in Southeast Asia. If you haven't already, make sure you check out my previous video about the US and China battling for control over Southeast Asia. Incredibly, there are more people living inside this circle than out of it, and whoever controls this circle controls the future of our world. Click here to watch that video, and I look forward to seeing you all in our next video very soon.